Hello, everybody. A few years back, there was an exclusive Fox News with Gilbert Verdian of Quant. Now, that video and that publication from their website has been deleted. Now, I asked myself, why is that? I mean, it's Fox News. It's not like they're running out of space on their website. So I decided to dig deeper to get some answers. And on top of that, I want to discuss in today's video in regards to Quant and Ripple's XRP. Is there really an indirect partnership? I've been stating for the longest time that ISO TC 307 complements ISO 222. So, without further ado, we're going to get into today's outline and try to make sense of it all. Try to stick around to the end of the outline where you'll have those answers in regards to everything being presented. All right. First thing we're going to do is pull up this, and it's kind of like a timeline, if you will, to make sense of all of this. So here it is, and what you'll see here is crucial. June 30th, 2018, Colin Patterson. He says Quant Networks want Gilbert Verdian to go mainstream on Fox News. Overledger will become the technology to open up what? Blockchain. Think about that for a second. Fox News. Always interesting to see anything on mainstream. Get more into this, you will see this posted from Gilbert Verdian, January 23rd, 2019. He says, Colin and I are in New York at the Rockefeller Center for some important meetings. # Build the Future. As we get more into this, you will also see a picture of Gilbert Verdian at that time, right outside of there. And of course, NBC News is across the street. As we get more into this, there's some private conversations. Gilbert Verdian from April 15, 2019. What does it say? Well, we had a great week in New York. Wants to update everyone on our meetings, plus the managing director of Rockefeller Capital joined our board of directors. Now, I've done this on the old channel, a deep dive in regards to that, but as you get more into it, what does it also mention? It says from this guy, Luke, awesome, thanks, very excited to see Guy Dietrich join the board at Quant. Who else is on the board of directors? You mentioned Guy would help with United States expansion. Can you elaborate on this? Will his personal connections be leveraged, or are you planning on expanding with a large U.S. partner? Then Gilbert Verdian states, we are doing our planning for the United States, U.S. There's a lot of activity which we can't discuss basically openly at present. Again, look at the year, April 2019. As we get into the next part of this outline, you will see Gilbert Verdian with this quote. In regards to the date, this time it's July 17th of 2019. Pay attention to this part too. It says, back in New York City for more client meetings with U.S. banks. Yeah, that's right, U.S. banks. Partner meetings, working on our U.S. strategy with our board at the Yale and Harvard Club. Really like Rockefeller Plaza for a potential office and headquarters. Think about how that sounds, guys. Exciting times ahead. Watch the space. Build the future. Quant. Gives you some of the pictures, literally of him outside Rockefeller Center. As we get to the next part, on the timeline, private discussion, March 27th, 2020. Looks like it's a private discussion, probably from Telegram. Gilbert Verdian says, AJ, boom, thanks for that clarification. Gilbert Verdian then states, OVN as the Overledger network is a network of networks that's bigger than Quant. It's about the ecosystem. Don't forget that part about the ecosystem, because when we get to the end of the outline, you'll see how I tie this all together. All right, June 17th this time, guys, of 2020. Okay, so Gilbert Verdian says, one thing to realize, Overledger Network is allowing closed financial institutions to safely transact with DLTs, including Ripple. Yeah, you read that right, Ripple, We are complementing Ripple and its true adoption. I've stated this for the longest time that Quant's ISO TC307, the Quant network standard, the foundation for building on blockchain, will do what? It will complement ISO 222. But to see it in writing from Gilbert Verdient in regards to Ripple, you understand the bigger picture. We're not going to end here. We're going to get more into it. Moving along in this outline, look at this. Look what he mentions. I'll blow it up a little bit bigger for you guys. Gilbert Verdient in regards to the OVN, Overledger Network, December 30th, 2020. We are thrilled about OVN and what it's shaped to be. Since September, with the help of the community, we have been stress testing gateways, updating protocols, Overledger itself, and gearing for launch. We're getting close to it now and looking at the time, first half 2021, what people and enterprise can do with OVN as an ecosystem. It's exciting. But in parallel, we've been meeting financial institutions, enterprise clients, and even governments. Yeah, listen to that. To connect to OVN. Our mission or vision is that OVN is going to be the hub that connects the US, China, Latin America, Australia, UK, and Europe to interoperate digital assets and cross-border transactions. We've had countries approach us to use OVN to enable a data marketplace for all of their citizens to interoperate and transact identity and data domestically and across the ecosystem for cross-border transactions. Boy, that aged really well. I understand that the entire market is down right now and seems like there's a lot of doom and gloom. But understand there's always a bigger picture. Getting more into the outline, this time we're at January 7th, 2021, private conversation, Gilbert Verdient. This is from Dread Bongo. Talks about how interesting it will be in regards to see real utility. Gilbert Verdient, Qnt is at the core of the OVN. Don't forget that because we cited that a few times. The core, the heart. It's basically powering all the layer 2 payment channels. Think about how that's worded. Layer 2 payment channels, right? You understand, people point out Qnt is just an ERC20 token. In reality, Quant is blockchain agnostic. So to have that statement right from GV, focusing on a layer 2, right? Layer 2 payment channels and how gateway operators are paid. We've been working hard on this, the Treasury, and removing friction for enterprise to use, of course, the OVN. Getting into the next part of this, January 7, 2021, a little bit more about this. Okay, I'm familiar with this guy. Follow him on X. So Interchains has the ability to do what? He says OVN's capabilities will allow members to transact globally with existing and new transaction rails. Remember how XRP is always boasting about the whole thing of, those rails? All right, the next part. It says, founded in 2018, Quant is UK-based with a US presence. Right. We spearheaded the blockchain ISO standard TC307 adopted by 57 countries and, of course, organizations worldwide and solved interoperability with the creation of the world's first blockchain-agnostic API gateway, Overledger. Our high-integrity leadership team has been experienced in government, financial services, technology, healthcare, and even management consulting. Now, let's pull this up. Back to the whole thing about Fox News. So, this was posted a while back, June 28, 2018. First part says, from Quant, Fox News article, opinion piece by Gilbert Verdient in regards to interoperability about building the future. A Fox News piece, basically. They even give you a link. Then Colin Patterson, back to what he was saying earlier about Quant going mainstream and how it's going to be on Fox News and that the Overledger will become the technology to open up what, guys? Blockchain. June 30th, 2018. Now, moment you've been kind of waiting for. We're not that quite at the end. When I looked this up, guess what? Broken link. foxnews.com/opinion 2018, the date 6/18, and the name of the article is called Blockchain, What It Is and Why Breaking Down Its Barriers Will Unleash the Untold Potential. Right? So, broken link. Well, I decided to dig deeper, and I thought to myself, well, what about the Wayback Time Machine? And Wayback Time Machine to the rescue, because it shows June 18th, 2018, and then there was I guess it was removed on the 30th, but here it is. We got it. So this is cool. I've blown it up for you guys. So you're going to see here some interesting things, and I will read this all verbatim. It's not really long. Blockchain, what it is, why it's breaking down its barriers, will unleash untold potential in everything, not just some things, but everything. And of course, posted by Gilbert Verdian and on the platform of Fox News. So it's an abstract, but it says from Verdian, not since the internet itself has a technology shown such promise and elicited such excitement as blockchain. It is predicted in the next few years. Much of our digital consumption will be run via a blockchain foundation without us even realizing it. And of course, continue to read below, and then it has the rest of it, which is cool. It says, but more often than not, when he's speaking with CEOs of Fortune 500 enterprises or members of the UK Parliament or even mainstream media, the core question that keeps coming up is what exactly is it and why should I care? Now, I'll take a pause for just a moment, come out of the screen. I want to point this out for all you guys. What have we actually seen lately? Back to pitching it to, House Democrats literally about, 3-4 weeks ago? And then seeing how this, of course, aged very, very well. Blow this up a little bit more. It says blockchain was invented in 2008 to be the public ledger for Bitcoin because of its inherent security advantages. We already know about most of this. But according to Gilbert, information on a blockchain cannot be manipulated. Blockchains are not centralized. Information is shared across users, so there is not a vulnerable place for hackers to, of course, attack. Each block in a chain is a standalone unit. Users cannot go back and alter. In terms of implications of this tech, FedEx Chief Executive Officer Fred Smith said at a blockchain conference in New York, at least in 2018, we are quite confident that it has big implications in supply chain, transportation, and logistics. It's the next frontier that's going to completely change worldwide supply chains. I know most of you guys are immediately thinking like XDC or Morpheus Network, VeChain. I get it. But the next part, while the potential blockchain technology might not seem endless, and the time for mass adoption, look at that, is now, barriers remain, particularly with regards to interoperability and, of course, formal standardization. Now, he gets more into the weeds of this, and then after this part, the article's, ended, but it says a fundamental problem is that blockchain is being developed in a proprietary, isolated way. How many times have we heard Gilbert Verdian pound this home? It says in the 1990s, online service providers created their version of the internet, but users could only see content they provided. It was when the networks were modified to communicate that the internet flourished. Right. During that time, that would be Web 1. As it stands now, blockchains are different. Or I should say, blockchains on different networks are unable to communicate with one another. That's a big deal. For example, it is not too distant future, or not in the too distant future, that self-driving cars will be common. Look how that aged pretty well too. We see that a lot. If one car company builds this tech using a blockchain from X, another car company builds this technology using Y, the two cars will be unable to communicate, and that failure will have dire consequences. Goes on to mention that the lack of interoperability, please do not forget this part because this is one of the main highlights as we get to the end. The lack of interoperability also creates risk for businesses and hinders widespread usage. Once a business starts on a system is effectively locked in, if they start at all, given the isolated way in which this technology is being built is leaving enterprise decision makers confused and uncertain as to which technology to, of course, adopt. For us to fulfill the tremendous potential of blockchain tech, we must achieve interoperability. I am now leading a team to create what we call an quote-unquote Overledger that will serve as a meta gateway for the various blockchains available. The platform will ensure effective communication among the various options. This will unleash the creativity of programmers by allowing them to design applications that can function across all blockchains. To address standards, I founded the Blockchain International Organization for Standardization, ISO, project that now has 46 countries working together to develop practices by 2020. Partners include companies such as Sony, IBM, Microsoft, multiple startups, academia, and governments around the globe. We recently hosted a meeting in London on ISO standards with the highest turnout so far, with 300 attendees from more than 40 countries. This is exciting for someone who has been working on cybersecurity issues for 20 years, protecting governments and companies from threats. I am also the chair of DLT1, the United Kingdom's National Committee on Blockchain and Distributed Ledger Technologies. As we get more into other outlines, you will see me constantly reference some of these things. I've also covered, GL1, the global layer one. But in addition to the security benefits of blockchain, it also has the power to connect data and therefore optimize the efficiencies of any endeavor. For instance, when I worked for Australia's Department of Health, I saw firsthand what blockchain information sharing could do to enhance patient care. Many important challenges in the healthcare industry stem from how efficiently and ineffectively data is shared from organization to organization, jurisdiction to jurisdiction. It is hard to connect the participants in a large healthcare network. By fixing that, we can literally save lives. Blockchains also can be an important tool in the fight against opioid addiction by providing the global supply chain with the transparency needed to track the, that term. I'm not going to say it because YouTube sometimes will flag me and, take off part of my monetization. I don't want that. Going more into this, what's more, blockchains are going to revolutionize financial services, transactions. I recently served as the chief information security officer for a MasterCard company. MasterCard is firmly committed to identifying and implementing blockchain strategy. Looking forward to continuing our collaboration. Okay, back to this thing about supply chain real quick. He says that supply chain management will be transformed by interoperability. That, of course, companies, or I should say, enables companies to immediately interact with numerous blockchains and better manage modern complexities. Government regulators will benefit as well when it comes to enforcing compliance by being able to see across multiple blockchains. The promise of blockchains, once they are connected, is profound. And now it gets kind of, I guess you could say, somewhat juicy. It says, even in the 1990s, online service providers created their version of the internet, but users could only see content they provided. Proprietary networks such as the likes of CompuServe, Prodigy, America Online couldn't connect, and couldn't have interoperability between them. It was only when the networks were modified to communicate that the internet, of course, flourished. If this is going past your head, just think about this. The internet flourishing because they're interconnected. What about blockchain projects? What about payment systems, you guys? Think about that. You have the Microsoft of blockchain, literally, and Quant's Overledger is allowing that to be connected. This part, enabling cross-chain communications, including the recognition and transfer of transactions, is not dissimilar to opening borders to allow for international trade. It will usher in a new era of digital economic growth and prosperity, not unlike the industrial revolutions of the past. Policymakers should embrace, look what it says, the mass adoption of blockchain tech as the questions of standards and interoperability are, of course, answered. When blockchains are able to fluently converse with each other, we will have the opportunity to harness the full potential of everything. And that's, of course, where they end it. Now, you may think, that's a lot to take in. I didn't need to hear all that. But here's what's really important to understand. Let's jump over to CoinMarketCap. Okay. So, Quant was down, I think, to about $63 recently within the last day or so. It's up a little bit now. But that article, okay, that was basically, like it shows, back in June 18th of 2018. Let's just go back to that for a second, right? So there it is, June. Disappear from the screen. But anyway, June 18th of 2018, okay? And then, of course, we share this, right, from, Wayback Time Machine. But when you go here, look what it shows. August 23rd, 2018, which was literally about 2 months after this publication was out, all right? And then they removed it, according to the Wayback Time Machine, that article on, I think, about the 30th of that same month. Okay, that's really interesting. 2 months later, Quant is at all-time lows. All right. Now think about that for a second. I'm not trying to make a conspiracy out of that, but I thought that was more than worth sharing. Okay. And of course, we saw all-time highs for Quant at $428 and of course 38 cents back, you know, towards the height of the last bull market, right? 11.11 was the height, but for Quant, it was September 11th, 9/11, ironically, $428.38. So, person came in at bottom, they would be up about 43,000%. Okay. So, what else do we got in regards to this? Well, I have talked about the RLN and the RSN quite a bit lately, and I'll just kind of just show a little bit of emphasis on this for just a brief bit. So let's take you over to here. Here's an illustration. I'm gonna go ahead and blow it up a little bit more. As you can see here, this is cited from basically UDPN. And while we do understand that the UDPN is basically, like it says here, universal tokenless infrastructure, decentralized and also working application, you do have, infrastructure, and you do have certain cryptocurrencies that are involved, right? Like, what you see here. But in regards to the Quant XRP Ripple connection, well, is it really indirect? I think so. As you can see on the visual, we have regulated liability network. You see Citi right in the middle of that. You see Parsher, okay? But right above it, what does it say? The settlement network, right? Which would be basically what? The RSN. So RLN is regulated liability network, as we know. RSN is the regulated settlement network. Well, see how Ripple does like a bridge to that? Right, think about it. You're not going to settle in Qnt. You're going to settle. That's the beautiful thing about the Overledger, being able to settle for real-time gross settlements with something else that's obviously a lot faster, which would be what? Ripple's XRP. So that example of seeing that makes sense. Look at the part below where it says DLT infrastructure, where Ripple's at, and so on. Decentralized messaging infrastructure. Right. This totally makes sense in the visualization about how you have, for example, Quant with ISO TC307 complementing, again, like I said, ISO 222. All right, let's jump over to this. It's going to make it, wrap it up here pretty soon, for the most part. This lady, whose name is Sarah Rouhani, if I'm pronouncing that right, she has quite the background. Listen to this for a second. This is going to matter because you're going to want to hear a little snippet from a video. So she is a professor over at the University of Manitoba, okay? She's done quite a few publications, recent ones as of 2023, citing a few things: smart contract design, distributed energy systems, FedShare about secure aggregation based, additive secret sharing and federated learning. The other one, robust blockchain marketing loan ecosystem. I mean, she definitely knows her stuff. Okay, why point her out, Max? Well, I get it. I totally get it. Just a little bit more. So she did a couple publications. This one, Trust Development for Blockchain Interoperability. And think of that, blockchain interoperability using self-sovereign identity integration. Okay, what about this other one? Well, back in 2022, Scalable Blockchain-Based Smart Contract Model for Decentralized Voltage Stability using Sharding Technique. Okay, so why is this person important? Here's why. Look at what it says here on the screen. So this person actually works at Ripple, and this was posted 6 months ago. Okay, effective and secure blockchain interoperability. Only posted 6 months ago. I'm not gonna play the whole thing. I'll just get right into basically a minute. Hear it for yourself. Seriously, hear this for yourself. And if you're not convinced, and again, I'm not actually trying to convince anybody of anything. I just provide research. If you're not convinced that Quant's ISO TC307 standard, right, the foundation for building on blockchain, is not complementing the likes of even Ripple XRP, which is connected to ISO 222 messaging, then I don't know what to tell you. But listen to the terminology. I'm glad I found this. Glad to bring it to the community. If you haven't done so already, if you appreciate the content, please smash the like. Let's go ahead and play this. Here we go.
And you can see that like there are existing a very good and kind of robust like architectures offered by different communities. Like we have this Hyperledger Cacti that's evolved from Qnt'S and Weaver. We have Polkadot, Cosmos, many like actually existing interoperability solutions that shows the potential. But what I have understand from like studying on the existing solution is that we need a fundamental approach. So we wanted to like think about how we can design it in a modular and layered architecture. So we needed to build a big overlay network, which itself is a blockchain. And that overlay network all exists and created through to access all the like the problems that interoperability. So we need to build a new blockchain platform that its purpose is interoperability, and it acts as a hub between different blockchain platforms. And in terms of resources, yes, we need, like many of the topics that I discussed, we don't have the expertise. For example, the proof transfers, the like the cryptographic mechanisms. But what we know is how, like, in terms of like whole architecture and ecosystem, it is working nicely with each other.
Okay, I think you guys get the point. Think about how that terminology basically is. And just in case you missed that, let's just go ahead and pull it up again. I'll shrink it down. Cited from who? Cited from Ripple. You see it right on the screen, plain as day. So, that's just something I wanted to share with you guys to kind of pound it home a little bit more in that regard. And in closing, the thing I definitely want to point out is some closing thoughts, notes that I have for you guys. So, people will ask, how does ISO TC 307 course complement ISO 222? Well, I gave you some examples, but how about in particular Ripple's XRP? So that's a great question because, Ripple is part of this Quant outline. So here's a breakdown of how they're going to work together and the relationship. So for one, as we know, ISO 222 is basically a messaging standard format that is going to be used for financial data exchange, right? For a lot of you guys that are new to this, you can learn a little bit more about it. It's a simple Google search, but it definitely does establish what is referred to as a common language for financial institutions to basically communicate with each other, right? Regardless of location, technology, language barriers, and so on. It makes transactions, of course, faster, cheaper, and of course less error prone. This is why a lot of people feel as though, it's a nice upgrade to the current Swift system, and I would agree with that. In regards to ISO TC 307, that particular standard, which is made by Quant, by the way, is a committee focused on distributed ledger technology, which of course underpins cryptocurrencies like XRP. Now, when you hear that, so people kind of get like, well, then what's the whole point of mentioning any of this? Hear me out. Their role specifically is to develop standards for how DLT can integrate with existing financial systems. This includes ensuring DLT data can be translated into a format compatible with ISO 222 messaging standards. All right, sounds cool, Max. I already knew about that. Well, cool, good for you. Right on. I'm glad you're paying attention. But Ripple's XRP, believe it or not, does benefit from this cooperation, and of course, in a couple ways. Let's talk about that. It's standardization communication. That's the first thing. If RippleNet, formerly known as ODL, which is on-demand liquidity, uses ISO 222 messaging, hear me out on this, it can seamlessly connect with, of course, financial institutions already using, of course, the standard. This improves interoperability and simplifies what, guys? Integration of just that, Ripple's XRP. Okay, I'm with you, Max. What about DLT integration, since we're talking about Quant's ISO TC 307 standard? Great question. With ISO TC 307's work on, of course, DLT standards, it would definitely pave the way for, of course, wider adoption. Back to what was posted from that deleted Fox News article. Now do you understand how that comes together? And of course, wider adoption of blockchain tech in finance? Yeah, finance. potentially including what? The technology like Ripple's XRP, and of course other ones. Now, it's important to note these couple things as well. ISO doesn't endorse specific technologies like XRP. ISO 222 doesn't even, it's not necessarily even dependent, of course, on blockchain. It's just a messaging standard, but it can definitely work with existing financial infrastructure. And of course, we have seen that. Bottom line is this. In essence, ISO TC 307 and ISO 222 create a more open and standardized environment for, of course, financial transactions. And of course, you better believe that's going to benefit RippleNet and potentially XRP by making it easier to integrate with what? The traditional financial systems. If you've been following me on what's been going on with Quant, you can see how that all comes together. All right, with that said, thanks for tuning in on today's outline. Really appreciate it. Smash a like on your way out. Hit a sub if you haven't done so already. You think these videos are too long? Well, it is what it is. Thank you. God bless you all. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next one. If managing your crypto feels like solving a puzzle, it's time to switch to Decent Wallet. Say goodbye to complicated setups and hello to Decent Wallet, the hassle-free solution to your digital currency needs. With just a few taps, you can manage, track, and secure your crypto with unmatched ease. And here's the best part. Grab your Decent Wallet at a discounted price by using the referral link below. Don't miss out on making your crypto experience smoother and more secure.